to adjourn.
Jeez, Lance.
Traffic is a beast.
What?
No.
Indianapolis, right?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Tuesday, March 3rd Town Council meeting. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and then Mr. Worthing's going to do the invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we ask for strength, courage, and wisdom. We want to thank you for giving us the privilege of serving this fine town the people live in. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Again, I'd like to welcome you. I'll call the meeting to order. The meeting's now in order. First item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes from the February 18th, 2020 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is unfinished business, and this would be Troy Bryant at Indiana American Water will come up and talk about a easement that's located on Bridge Street.
All right, hello. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to come talk to you guys. I'm going to give you a couple pieces of paper along with a card that has my phone number on it, because I haven't given these out to you folks yet. I apologize for not coming earlier when this request come through for the easement. I wasn't aware that they were mailing this to you, and I spoke with Shane about this, but what we're doing is replacing the water line that's in the creek there on Bridge Street, right around the Lowe's. It's exposed. It's been exposed for a number of years. If the water's down low enough, it's actually sticking up out of the water. So we've got all of our permits done to bore a new line under the creek, and going through this, the top piece of paper I gave you shows that you guys own a piece of property right along Bridge Street. It's not a very large piece of property, but you guys have ownership of that. And the second page shows what my easement is. The part in yellow would be the part I need from the town of Mooresville. The part in green was for Arvin and Mary Hopkins, which I've already received. But that's the location of the new pipe that will be under the creek. The existing pipe that's sitting there, there were never any easements recorded for that back in the 60s when it was installed. So I really have nothing at this point for that line, and I want the new line to be in an easement and be as it should. So that's the reason for the request. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer them, or, I understand there may be some questions about the easement document that was sent over. I can try to get you questions answered on that, if you had any. Anything at all. That's what I'm requesting.
It's a hot or cold water line?
It is a cold water line. It's been a very cold water line in the winter times for the past few years.
Do you pull the old line out?
No, I asked about that, and the permitting to remove that line is at such a cost that we're not going to remove it. We're
But
just
you
going
will just abandon it?
We will abandon it in place and tie the new pipe in at each end. But that pipe that's exposed right now and going under the water at some point, it's going to stay there.
There is a large tree floating
Yeah.
wedged that keeps creeping up towards the bridge. I don't know, is there anything that what can be done about that? Do you, and
for my project, I'm actually not gonna have equipment in right there on that. I'm gonna be back a little bit on either side boring, and all my excavation work's gonna be outside away from the creek itself. I don't think I can even do that, even if I was there. I think that might be a county responsibility for the waterways. That'd be for all these engineers, but I'm not sure.
If you don't mind, I'd like to have Dave answer it for us.
Yeah, we're preparing to take care of that tree. Right now, it's lodged up against his water line, it's underwater. As soon as the levels go down some, we'll send the crew in to cut it up. Don't know exactly what we'll do with it after that, but we'll get it cut up.
What all in town does this service?
You know, I've got 2 crossings under State Road 67. One over off of Park Drive and one here at Bridge Street. And that basically serves half of my system within the town is on the east side of town. So that would be everything from Hubler Chevrolet down to Southbridge Crossing and out to, the extents of my system to the east. If something was to take out that creek crossing, I would have a pressure loss that would certainly require a boil advisory for the entire town of Mooresville. And I would be on a one-way feed once repairs were made or isolated for a period of time until the bore was completed with a new line through there. If it was not already in the permitting stages and all of these steps previously taken care of, you're looking at a couple months to get that work engineered and approved and done. So that tree has moved over the years significantly. And if you were to look at Google Earth, you can see where it originally fell and laid, and then it moved and it moved. And this most recent heavy flooding put that thing where it is at a direct angle to my water main now. So it's very critical now, whereas it wasn't so much in the past.
Other questions from the council?
That's a loop, though. That is part of the loop, though, isn't it?
I do have loops,
Yeah.
If I lose that, I can still feed the east side of town through the crossing at Park Drive.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it was clear that your system is good and solid, even if we had
Yes.
something there. Was there a question from legal counsel on this?
There was, and I reached out to Thomas Walker, the
Okay.
land agent who said this, and I just needed the justification for the amount. Some sort of statement as to how that valuation came up with, just so that they can, the council can take action on it and get rid of certain rights, some of the bundle of rights.
Okay, so you need justification on the dollar amount that was provided. I can get that for you.
Is there a dollar amount mentioned?
Yes. So the valuation that they have is $525.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for the good of the people. I don't know if there was a question of whether that was too much, not enough, or just a clarification of how much.
The reason why I was asking is just for whenever you are getting rid of any of your property rights, whether it be through a lease, through sale of utilities, or any of your bundle of rights through easements, you can transfer those. You just want to make sure that you have a just valuation because it is rights that the town holds, and in order to give some of those away, if it is in excess of a certain amount, you have to follow other procedures. I don't think that this is going to be there. I just want to make sure we have that in the file to show that it does not exceed, I think it's 9,000.
You was 9,995.
Did Mr. Walker respond to?
I have that.
Okay. I can make sure that he gets you the information you need. Here, one way or the other.
Barring any legal ramifications, I still think it's for the good of the town. I think it's for the kind, quality, and function of the water system. I would approve it based on legal counsel approving it. I would make a motion to approve for any of them.
Okay, we have anybody from the public have any comments about this?
I'm just kind of wondering, but my IPL's gonna upgrade the system, and, does the town of Mooresville pay for the upgrade, or does IPL or American Water pay for it?
I can answer that.
That cost, does it go to the town?
No, it doesn't go to the town individually. It will go, it's part of our, it will become part of our rate base at our next rate case season. This type of investment, a capital investment, will be built into the rates and spread out through all of our customer base throughout the state, more or less at that time, is the way it's gonna happen in our next rate case, because we should be rolled into the tier 1 rates in 2024.
So Indiana American has a single rate tariff, so that any project anywhere spread over the entirety of their footprint. Saves costs to individual users at that time.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll get you the information that you need, and we'll take care of that. All right, thank you very much.
See you, Troy.
Next item on the agenda is new business, and the first item there is a rezone for County Line Road. Do we have a presenter? This was approved at the last planning commission meeting. You were at that meeting, weren't you?
I was.
It's a unanimous recommendation for approval, and it's a zoning change for a property where there's a church looking to buy this property, but we don't have a presenter present, so I don't know how the council wants to handle it.
I mean, I can speak as to what was presented at the planning commission meeting. This is a piece of property that is currently serving as it's over at Heartland Crossings. It is a vacant field right now that the kids use for baseball purposes. I think it's where they've got a backstop and everything associated there. The church that wants to come in, it's currently owned, I believe, by the Valley Mills Church.
Yes, it is.
And so it's another church that wants to come in, build their church, have affiliated with that a daycare as well. And so the change in the zoning map would be to facilitate the daycare being operated out of that location as well as the church itself. And then they have a change to the PUD that'll come later. But that is what this is for this new church, and for them to operate both the church and daycare. There were remonstrators there, but all of the issues that were raised by the remonstrators were satisfactorily resolved, and so it resulted in the unanimous recommendation.
And it's located at the intersection of East North County Line Road and East Heartland Boulevard. It's 4.432 acres. They restricted the use to,
Yes.
did they restrict the hours, or did they abandon that?
They kind of abandoned it because once we started talking about what churches can be used for, such as weddings and receptions and youth group events, but the remonstrators had no problems when they talked about those issues. So.
But they're wanting to go just B1. Is it B1 with as a special exception just for that use, or is it B1 period?
It's going to be a B1, and then they're going to get a variance to include specifically for the daycare usage within that B1, and it's going to be restricted to that only. So it's not going to, the variance is not going to carry over, it's going to be affiliated with that. The issue that we ran into is that we have
But did they restrict it to a church in that B1?
Correct. Church, and then it's restricted to the usage of the church, and then additionally, it's going to then, with the PUD change later, is going to have a restriction as to the daycare operated by the church for that special exception.
Who presented on behalf of the? It was unanimous from the planning commission.
It was.
It's real tough to argue that God's not the highest and best use of the land, though, isn't it? As long as you're sure that everything was worked out, I would make a motion to accept the recommendation from the planning commission.
Any, we have a motion, but any comments from the public? Seeing none, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, any further discussion? I don't want to. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the first reading of the Southside Sewer Bond. And I think we have.
Thank you, Adam Sturwald with Barnes and Thornburg, your guys' bond counsel. Before we dive into the ordinance, I wanted to take a quick step back and give you guys the timetable for the financing.
Remember Adam Short. Is this changed from the one dated February 7th? Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay.
So tonight would just be the first reading of the ordinance. It would come back for your second reading at your next meeting. We'd introduce a rate ordinance at that time. We'd have a public hearing on the rate ordinance at your April 7th meeting. And then we would go through some selling procedures. We would look to sell the bonds on May 6th and close on May 21st. We've sort of split this up into two phases to be timed with the bids for the projects. So this would be for phase one. And then the ordinance that you have for first reading tonight, it authorizes up to $6,970,000 worth of sewage works bonds. The bonds will be payable solely from sewage works revenues. Max interest rate of 4%. Each series of bonds could be up to 20 years from the date of issuance, and then the bonds would be sold at a competitive sale through an official statement.
And 6-9, it incorporates both phases.
Correct.
But it can be sold as two series or multiple series.
Yeah, it can be sold in as pretty much as number of series as you want, but it'd be two series. One for this first set of projects for the bids that you guys are looking at tonight, and then we receive the second set. Other rates will be adjusted again, and then we'll be ready to go for this second phase. And then Baker Tilly is here to help answer any financial questions, and Banning Engineers here if you guys have any questions specifically to the projects themselves.
Page 9, it talks about CEDE and Company. What does that stand for? I apologize. I don't know.
Seed and Co. Okay. So there's a technical requirement for tax exempt bonds have to be registered, which means if you sold 6.9 million and cut up into $5,000 pieces, you could have thousands of owners, and you'd have to register each name to get around that. We register in Seed and Co. as the one bondholder, and then they handle all the things from there. So it's basically a tax requirement.
Okay. Mr. Lee, have you had a chance to read it?
Yeah, so this has been circulated, Baker Tilly made some revisions, and then we took a look at it, so, the ordinance is in proper form. And again, this is just the first reading, of the ordinance, so, there won't be any action.
And we can't make it a maximum of 1% interest to save ourselves money?
We tried.
Fed's lowered it
Yeah.
0.5% today.
I have some questions.
Yes.
And I realized they were just engineering estimates, so they weren't actual bids.
Right.
Of course, those are there. But I noticed that the amount, if I remember right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, of phase 1 and 2 estimates was around $5.5 million.
Is that right? Yes. And there was some, yeah, come on up, Scott.
Answer that.
Scott Miller with Baker Tilly. Because you haven't opened those bids yet, we always include an additional factor into what the current estimates are, so that if you were to adopt or introduce a bond ordinance tonight that authorized $5 million and your bids came back at 6, we'd have to go back through this whole process again. So we just give ourselves some flexibility there.
So you build in a
Yeah.
fairly large contingency, about 20%.
Usually we do 20%, yep, before we have bids. So it doesn't mean you're gonna issue that much, it just gives you the authorization up to that level. So we're gonna issue whatever we need to do the project. But yeah, at this stage, when we're doing just a parameter bond ordinance, we usually add 20%.
Can you explain to me, are bonds, are you able to pay them early if you want to, or is that a mechanism of the bond itself, a negotiation in the bond itself?
In this case, I can't remember if we've, probably 10 years, do you remember? 10 years?
Well, it's gonna be up to the clerk treasurer, but I think I would say 10
Yeah.
years.
So-
Otherwise, you're looking at higher costs.
Yeah, so ordinarily what would happen with this type of bond issue is that those bonds are not going to be callable for usually a period of 8 to 10 years. Typically what we're seeing right now is 10 years at par, meaning you're not going to pay a premium if you pay them off early at that point in time. So, you know, when you put yourself in the investor's shoes, they're investing their dollars. They want to make sure that they're going to get a return for a period of time, which is why we've got that non-callable period. But then after 10 years, likely, yes, you'd be able to pay them off early. Or more, as likely, if not more likely, refinance them, although with today's interest rates, that may not be an option down the road. But you would always have that option as well to refinance at a lower interest rate if that ever became viable.
Questions from the council?
Is it a second reading or public hearing?
So the second reading, you'll take action, and the public will have options for their opinions.
If there won't be a notice public hearing for the
Okay.
bond ordinance, there will be for the rate ordinance.
Okay.
But the second reading is at the next meeting,
Correct, yes.
so there's your public notice. There's no legal requirement for a public notice for that?
Now, normally for a public hearing, there's
Public hearing.
a notice within 10 days to the newspaper. This does not require that. Like the rates, I said they do, so that'll be at the meeting after next. But the rates will have the public hearing as well.
Yeah, just to follow up on that and back to your first question, when you open the bids tonight, what we'll do, well, once Banning has identified who the lowest and most responsible bidder is, we'll take that information. Our staff were here today going through the financial records, just getting updated information from what we had from last year. We'll plug all of that into the rate calculations and come back with the rate. So your rates will not be based on what's in this ordinance, they'll be based on what your actual bids are, and that's what we'll go to market with.
For phase 1?
For phase
You won't
1.
know phase 2?
For phase 1, that's right.
Would you mind coming up and explaining phase 1 and 2 a little bit, just briefly what the bond is for? I know we've done it in the past, but there's people here that weren't here before.
Yeah, I don't have my big poster poster boards this evening. Kent Elliott, Banyan Engineering. The overall project was broken down into two phases, but the overall project in and of itself is looking at the southern part of the sanitary sewer system for the town. What this essentially does is it's replacing existing lift stations. They're beyond their useful life, their age. It's time to replace them, and at the same time, whenever you go back to replace, you look at growth and what the potential is of growth around that area as well. When you go back in and replace something, you want to make sure you're setting yourself up for the future growth as well. So it's replacement and increasing capacities on the lift stations and the sanitary sewer force mains, as well as some gravity sewers in the area. And the phase one is basically the priority lift stations that need to be put in place before we can do the subsequent lift station work and sanitary sewers for phase two. So we're looking at 2 lift stations, the Merriman Road and the Rainbow Lane lift stations, and force mains for this phase one. And then phase two, we're doing some work more on the west side of State Road 67 up north to the creek. We're looking at the Hansel Parkway lift station and the Sun Polymer lift station, eliminating a siphon that has been replaced before, and it's just kind of a maintenance issue. If you can get by with not having siphons today, those typically aren't designed. And so we're looking at doing a new lift station in that location with the force main under the river there. So, and Crosby lift station is another one that's part of phase two. Phase two has been surveyed, and we're underway doing design work right now. So those aren't going to be bid, for several months.
Who all is going to benefit from this?
Well, everybody in the community that's essentially south of the creek and the southern part of the system is going to benefit
So
from it.
Brookmore subdivision,
Well,
it's bypassing them, correct?
they are not currently sewered at this time. This will give them a capability to be sewered if they ever want to put in a low-pressure sewer system. Or not Brookmore, I'm sorry, the Rainbow, Sundown Manor.
What it does is it takes industrial waste under the highway and away from Brookmore subdivision.
Yes, it isolates that.
Okay, and then it feeds the new areas of town, new industrial like Ice Pack, but also the rest of the parcels that are out there that aren't developed yet or aren't
Yes.
in process.
They have a potential for residential or commercial growth.
And then it replaces infrastructure that's aging, that's servicing other businesses in the area.
Yes. Another thing it does too, we're adding up backup power to all of those where currently we don't have that in place. So it'll be a good redundancy for backup to keep people in service, more reliable practice.
Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public at this time? Okay.
Do we remember this ordinance on first reading?
Yeah, you can number it. It's
Two.
That's 2 on here. We need a motion to do or she can just number it. Okay. Any other part of this process on the next agenda item? Okay, the next item on the agenda, this is an executive appointment to the redevelopment commission, meaning the president appoints. So I will nominate and appoint Mr. Dana Heidenreich, who's in the audience in the back corner. So he is the newest member of our redevelopment commission. Congratulations and thank you. Our redevelopment commission now is back to full capacity, and I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we have 3 new members that have never served in Mooresville politics before, and in any area of Mooresville politics. And I think that's great to see new faces in our government. I'm very proud of it. Next item on the agenda, insurance committee appointments. This is the town insurance committee. They handle issues having to do with health insurance of the town employees. So I've talked to a few individuals. I think Mr. Cook, Jeff Cook, Councilman Cook, and Councilman Tom Moreland, and then our treasurer, Diana Walmsley, are willing to serve in that capacity. And it's my understanding that's a presidential appointment as well. Am I correct for all three of you that you're willing to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so I would go ahead and appoint those three to our insurance committee. And Diana had a question about Debbie Mons being an assistant to you.
Yes. In the past, Debbie has been participated in those meetings, is my understanding.
Yeah, because she's usually the go-to person for the town employees as far as knowing the ins and outs of the policy. And a lot of times the questions are directed through her. All four of us at that point in time would sign off on a HIPAA release, and she would be able to speak with employees if they choose to, and speak on their behalf at that point also.
But she would not be a voting member, she would just serve as a...
Usually it's a good sounding board to have her there to know what the public has done, but when we come back as a committee, it's usually a three-person vote. But she gives us a whole different perspective. She always comes in a pleasant, happy mood when she comes to these meetings. Jeff, what do you think?
I've seen it.
But I think that she needs to be involved.
Okay, so thank you for assisting me.
Well, I just add that because I process the enrollments and the termination, it's my understanding I have to be
Yeah,
open at that.
okay,
So,
very good.
unless somebody else is gonna start doing that.
There's that pleasing personality right there.
Put it out there, whatever this council decides.
It's fine, it's gonna be okay.
Okay, so next item on the agenda, the town council department liaison assignments. So we talked about this in a meeting prior. I made a list and I'll see if everybody's in agreement and then we will go from there. So the way I would suggest, and you can speak up too, Jeff Cook, Councilman Cook would be the liaison for the police department. Dustin Stanley for the fire department. Jessica Hester for the parks department. Tom Worthen for the street and water treatment facility. And then I would serve as a backup to all of you. Does that seem fair?
Whatever you need.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. If I have a department that somebody wants, feel free. So it doesn't matter
Do
to
you know
me.
anything about police?
Very little.
You know they're
Right.
Mr. Stanley?
I'm good.
You good? So if we can get that, I would like that to be put on the website underneath their name.
Cemetery. Do you want to lump that in with, since Dave usually takes
Yes.
care of it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, we ask if anyone has a problem, an issue. If Dave's busy, they'll reach out to whoever the council representative is. So can I include that in mine?
Yes.
I know it'll look good on a resume if I ever apply for a higher office.
Okay. That'd be great. Any other comments about this? So the public now knows, and so do the departments, and it'll be on the website. Okay. Next item on the agenda would be, we have a request from, and hopefully I'm saying this right, Vicky Bronstrup, for a handicap parking sign. You're welcome to come on.
I'm here for handicap plates, signs,
time hearing, so.
and I can't hear very well. This is my hearing disease that's going on. I'm gonna lose my hearing. So meanwhile, my hearing disease is making me dizzy and anxiety attacks. So I had one 3-4 weeks ago. It happened at midnight. We have a step. Ooh, that's a wasp. We have a step.
Make him mad, Jeff, make him mad.
Sorry.
You know me, I make
Goes
everybody.
into our kitchen, down into our kitchen. I had a spell trying to get to my computer chair because that's the only chair I could sit in to get up and down. So when I hit that step, I lost my balance, went back, blacked out, hit the cabinet he built on this side of the head. So meanwhile, I flipped, did my hip, and I should have called the ambulance. Instead, I was mad because of the parking situation. The ambulance could not get up to the house. I just went to bed mad, and I could have had went into a coma and died that night. Oh. And
The thing is, there's, people just park wherever they want, so.
Where is the house?
Northeast Street,
because we don't
3
have
blocks.
visitors,
Okay.
about 3 blocks over, and
we don't have visitors, it's just me and Jeff. We had some just come park right in front of our door. I had to ask him please move because he was going to the grocery store and unload the house.
Do you have a handicap?
I got,
no, we're working on that to get the,
What's all this?
I
get
have
the card.
fibromyalgia, diabetic nerve pain. I got damaged knees and feet. I'm a mess. Bladder problems, everything. My health issues are bad.
In the past, what we
This
did,
is what my doctor did, and my aide. This is from my nurse, my aide, and my CNA. And then I have a foot doctor that comes to the house. So I try to keep that open. There's 3 pages. I try to keep that open for them too. So a long run, I can't, I talk to them nice, I talk to them mean. They don't care. They don't care I'm disabled. I have monitors to push buttons. I have machines to breathe in. I have all this going on. St. Francis.
What she's just looking for is the area in front of the house. I understand it's a street, but it's the area in front of the house, just to, if we could get that area
I
where
have paperwork says my
people just don't
private name,
park wherever they wanna park,
Levels.
just cause they're partying somewhere.
Jeff, is that by ordinance usually?
I believe it is, yeah. We've done it in the past.
In the past, we asked to put an ordinance there, and the only requirement was, do you have a handicap placard, which they're working on, to where they then fit into it, because we don't want to put a handicap spot in front of it, and then them not be able to park in it. So,
I can't hear him.
I'll tell you.
it's a good thing. And I mean, I don't know, I don't want to put a handicap sign in front of your house if you don't have a handicap placard
Right,
yet.
right.
But I don't know how long it would take to could we have an ordinance to pass on first reading maybe?
Right, so we'll have to draft up an ordinance, because parking is controlled, traffic flow and parking is controlled by way of ordinance, so we draft the
It'll
ordinance.
just be in
at the
front of
location.
our house.
Right, but the concern, and I think what Councilman Worthington is saying here, is you don't have the handicap placard yet, so if we went out and passed an ordinance that said that had to be handicap parking, and you couldn't get your handicap placard, then you can't park there at all. And so, once you get that handicap placard, and you can get that recognized that you can park in handicap spots, then they can take action on an ordinance to address the parking.
I think that's one of the reasons we're here, just keeping it on the up and up. I just don't wanna go buy, I work for a sign company. I could print my own handicaps. You know me, and I stick them in the ground. We've known each other too long, but doing it the right way.
Well, and that's what, I would like to do it the right way, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Obviously, I don't want to make it to where you can't park in front of your house.
Right.
Do you have a timeline on when you might receive your handicap placard
I'm
from your
thinking
doctors?
within the next week to 2 weeks, give or take. So I'll be calling on it again tomorrow.
Vehicles have to, I go to them and talk to them. Because see, the Dr. Thomas wanted to pull my license anyway, give me handicap stuff, but then I told him I was still kind of working part-time, so I didn't want my license pulled, and I really kind of time when to walk away to get my exercise in my legs. I'm supposed to keep moving around so this disease don't get bad. Or I could become, well, I can't walk for another. They talk about losing my hearing, and my dad went blind, and I mean, I can hit all this. My health issues coming from both parents.
Next door, there was an abandoned house. Somebody bought it last year. But up until, people would not park in front of it. They would park, like, I would literally not be able to get the car in and out without doing the whole Austin Powers in the hallway thing, just because they wanted to party across the street or whatever they were doing, so.
It is 357 Northeast Street, correct? Okay. So he can draft an ordinance, and then should we just table it to the next meeting, have them come back?
Because there's nothing to consider at this point.
Okay.
So
So we deal with the,
as soon as you get the placard,
Ooh,
just let the town know, and we can have the ordinance going up for that.
all right, I just wanted to
Does he need to just
go through the
present it
channels.
here, or what?
So as long as he lets you know that, so if it happens in the next week that you have that, and you just let somebody know, they can tell me to have this ready for the next meeting, then the council can suspend the rules and then.
Pass on first reading.
What's that? Come on up, Dave.
I'll give them my number.
Okay, so, yeah, you can let Dave Moore know, the street department.
What's the number?
He'll give you his number, and then we'll get it on the next available agenda after that.
So the answer is, what we're saying now is, yes, we will work with you. Let's do things in the proper order.
Okay,
Okay?
yes, thank you very much.
No, we don't have buzzers.
Thank you.
Good night.
Next item on the agenda is the summer concert series street closing, so this would be the Parks Department requesting the closure. They provided a permit that's been signed off by Mr. Moore, our police chief and our fire chief. And the dates are May 15th, May 29th, June 12th, June 26th, July 10th, July 24th, and the time is from 6:15 to 10 p.m. And this would be here at the Bicentennial Park.
And is this just closing Indiana Street there?
It says North Indiana Street for each, looks like for each concert, and then it says in parentheses, East Main Street is needed for, I guess, maybe for larger concerts.
Art?
Yeah, they're only planning on closing the one street for now, but if it gets crowded, because we don't know what the new band's coming in, and on Friday night, we may need to close down the other one.
These are all Friday nights, correct? They're moving from Saturday to Friday
Except for
nights.
the downtown block party.
So what streets are we closing?
For each concert, it'd be North Indiana Street.
And then possibly Main Street from the stoplight down to the alley.
Okay.
Kevin, what kind of logistics nightmare is that for you if they tell you in a hurry, we need to close that?
It wouldn't be too hard to take up, but Dave's usually good about getting the sign so we can direct the traffic, if we can just have that available, you know, in case we need it.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll be able to gauge that after the first concert on what the next one will be.
And was that planning on leaving the intersection itself open?
Yes.
Okay. They had a Friday night concert last year, didn't you?
No, I think they're on Saturday.
The only thing we did on a Friday night was the tree lighting, I believe.
Okay.
Dave, what are we using for barricades to close those roads down? Anything that'll stop a vehicle or slow a vehicle down with pedestrians in the road, or?
Typically, we pull our trucks crossways in the road to shut them down. And Kevin and Chief Julian and I have met on this. And if it needs to grow, we will be able to adapt during the situation and close streets as we need it.
Okay.
6:15 is the earliest it'd be closed. That's not the start time of the concert, or
Well, they're probably gonna need setup, so we'll probably do it a half hour early.
so this is saying that the concert would be around 6:15, 6:30. Did you have concerns about Friday night traffic?
Traffic's traffic. I mean, we just deal with it.
So is that the closing time, 6:15, closing the street at 6:15?
That's what I was asking. Is that the earliest? In other words, are you trying to close it an hour before that, or is that the earliest it would close, 6:15?
I think that's the earliest it will close.
Because my question was geared at, does this allow for the bulk of rush hour traffic to get through the town before they close it at certain times? So you're saying 6:15 is the earliest it's
I
closing?
think so, yeah.
And the concert would start at 7 or something like that? Okay. Any further discussion, questions?
Motion to approve the street closing permit for all of the concert series.
Okay. We have a motion. Anybody in the public have a question or comment? Okay, seeing none. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding with Task Force 1, and the Fire Chief, Tim Metzger, will present.
Yeah, I had submitted the paperwork. It's a memorandum of understanding between Indianapolis Fire Department, which is basically representing Indiana Task Force 1, and we have one of our newest firefighters who belongs to Task Force 1, and that they were called out. Normally, if you watch the news, you see a lot of times that they're out on, like going to Katrina and certain disasters, and it's basically through FEMA as well. So what they do is, we only have one guy that's affected by it, and what they do is they will pay for a replacement. So when Nick is gone, gets deployed, and we still serve, if we need him here, then we can say, we won't allow him to go. But what happens is, if he gets deployed, they will pay overtime for someone on our department to come in and work that. It's typically 30 days before we would get our money back. Once we submit it, and if you look on the back, I think there's a sheet at the very last, and it shows Nick, and it would show what his hourly rate would be, or what his overtime. They would calculate it and send us a check. But it's just certainly an MOU that makes sure that we will get compensated if and when he gets deployed, and it also includes training.
Do you think we're all right as far as the staffing?
Yes. Because this is not going to happen, other than the training. He'll be gone for 4 or 5 days, and he'll miss maybe one shift, and then obviously I can't determine what type of catastrophes or storms or anything like that we might have. So
Well, the only thing is that you said it's based off of overtime,
they will pay, yes.
but his overtime versus if we have a captain or a lieutenant or
Right.
someone
I mean,
else.
we'll submit whatever we would
We
pay.
will submit.
We will submit it.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we will pay them, and then in turn, we will submit that to the task force, and then they will send us a check within 30 days, I think is what it says in there.
The only thing that I saw in there is, I think this is kind of generic. If you look on the front page, they get it right up at the top, but down in a few of the paragraphs, they have it as City of Mooresville instead of Town of.
Yeah, and it was originally sent back because of that discrepancy, that it did come in as City of, and I had sent it back to them and asked them to change it to Town of. So, and I can get that sent back to them and have them change it and then disperse that.
Can we just put in the motion that it needs to be Town of?
Yeah. I mean, they identify the town properly in the recitals at the top. And then it's just in some of the paragraphs below, we refer to it as the city, so. I think that we all understand that it's with the town of Mooresville and the town of Mooresville Fire Department, so I think you can take action on it, it's really straight up there.
More questions, comments from the council about the public? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we approve pending the change from city to town.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
So, you'll get a new one for you to sign. You'll get a new one to me, because I think I'm the only one to sign this. Okay. Next item on the agenda, future traffic signal covenant. This is at 67 and Merriman Road. Would you mind, are you familiar with this? This is the 67 and Merriman Road signal.
Julie, can you take a look at it? I haven't, so looked at this, so this is an agreement between the redevelopment commission and NDOT, so I'm not sure that there's any action council will have to take on it.
Okay, I think this got to you guys is, Chelsea asked me about it, and I was like, well, usually the road stuff is more for the town as opposed to the redevelopment commission. It doesn't look like any of this stuff has changed in that drafted this. I don't have any problem with the redevelopment commission approving it and signing it later, just as it does impact the roads and things that are outside sort of the traditional commission's responsibility. As long as you guys are okay with it, then I think we're covering the costs regardless.
Right.
Just want to make sure that you guys are at least as aware as a council that that's satisfactory with you guys.
I think it shows that NDOT will maintain the signal after we buy it for them and give it to them. I mean, they'll take care of all the, I'm assuming the power grid and the maintenance of it.
Yeah, that's my understanding,
Yeah.
and the commission was gonna pay for it.
Yes.
And again, it does have us up here as the city.
City.
So.
Yeah.
And I drafted as well.
Yeah.
And, so 3
We-
years from now, they may get that right.
Yeah, I saw that and requested a change, but
Basically, this is a light in response to the future traffic generated by NICEPAC, other entities down at 67 Merriman Road.
Correct.
And it would only happen if those projects come to fruition.
Yeah, if there's sufficient traffic to warrant a light.
So is there no action to be taken by us? I noticed that as well. There's my signature page for me.
As long as you guys are fine with us, or the redevelopment commission doing it, then that's fine.
it's more of an information sharing. We're trying to.
Okay. Trying to be proactive. Good. Okay.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm just going to catch you up to February here. In January, we had 111 EMS runs, 5 fire calls, 6 car wrecks, and 24 other, for a total of 146 responses in January. In February, we had 112 EMS calls, 8 fires, 3 motor vehicle accidents with injury, 41 other calls, for a total of year-to-date of 310.
Can I borrow you, Chief?
Can you borrow me?
Yes. Would you go ahead and
Okay.
do the honors of announcing what is happening tomorrow at your fire station?
Tomorrow, about 8 a.m., we, as everybody knows, that Councilman Stanley and several other people have been instrumental in getting the baby box installed in our firehouse at 415 East State Road 144. We would still have a lot of work to do. It's going to be a great thing for the community. There's still a few other, I think, things that we need to go through as far as the alarms. But we hope you guys, once it's installed, you come out, the community knows, and most importantly, those people that could benefit from it, that they take advantage of that service that the town is providing, and all the donors.
I really wanted the fire chief to come up and kind of do the honors because I've been poking around with the contractor and they've been gracious enough to welcome me and not kick me out of their fire station. So, but tomorrow we start cutting. So.
Very good. Any other questions for the chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Other department heads? Next item on the agenda, legal.
We have the responses to the bid for phase 1, so we're going to open the sealed bids now. First bid is for Tiger.
Did you have a bid, an ultimate bid on there?
Yes.
Okay, on the specification, I didn't want it. Okay.
Total base bid amount is $3,234,297. $3,234,297 even. Bid alternate is $295,057.50. $295,057.50.
Is that in the total base bid or is that outside of the base bid?
That the alternate is outside of it.
Okay.
That's for water main.
Next one is infrastructure systems incorporated.
Letter opener is really nice right now, isn't it?
Base bid amount is $2,034,045.50. $2,034,045.50. Alternate bid is $176,625. $176,625 even.
Next one is Dashiell Contracting.
Base bid amount is $3,138,586.80. $3,138,586.80. Alternate bid amount is $157,765 even. $157,765 even.
Subsurface of Indiana Incorporated.
Base bid amount is $2,617,235 even. $2,617,235 even. Ultimate bid amount is $215,137.50. $215,137.50.
Grade Construction.
Base bid amount is $2,828,282 even. $2,828,282 even. Alternate bid amount is $161,161 even. $161,161.
King's Trucking.
Base bid amount is $2,887,532 even. $2,887,532 even. Base bid amount $163,150 even. $163,150.
And that was the total alternate. That was the alternate bid, right? Yes. Got two other listed on the sheet.
Those were potential bidders.
Okay.
Wasn't for sure. So.
All right, well then that's all I can back, so we have this.
I'd like to request from the council that we could take, Bain Engineering, take these under advisement for review and come back with a recommendation for award at a later council meeting.
Well, it's nice to see that you're not low bid.
This is phase one sewer project, Southside sewer project. I don't know who said that, but I just want to make sure it's clear.
Since we have two different entities that are going to be paying for them, can we mix and match the alternate bids?
Do we
Or do you know?
have a motion?
Motion to table until Banning Engineering has an opportunity to oversee and finalize and check.
Thank you.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second. Oh, sorry.
So Dustin was the second, I guess. So we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any other from legal? Next item on the agenda, public comments, and this would be for anything that's not on the agenda tonight? Do you have any comments at all? Seeing none, next item on the agenda, motion for the approval of claims.
I'll make a motion to approve claims in the amount of $731,709.57.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, town council comments. Mr. Cook, do you have anything to add?
I have none.
Mr. Stanley?
Nope, it's Super Tuesday.
That's great. Mr. Worthing?
I think I said all I need to.
And I don't have anything either. The next meeting date for the public's benefit would be Tuesday, March 17th of 2020, and that would be at 6:30 here. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Would be-
Aye.
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 That's all right. I don't want to go. I bet you do. I bet you do. Chief, we'll see you. See you later, Jeff.
Good luck.
Super Tuesday. Still watch. No. Courtesy.
You know, so.
No.
You guys can't do the math.
I can.
What is this?
To answer your question, the RDC is paying for the
That's why I
alternate.
said since it's.
They got a price from Kreider and Kreider, and so we were going to see if we could get it cheaper.
Okay.
And what was their alternate?
You know, about.
I think they got a price of what, $295? That's what Kreider and Kreider.
That's what their price was submitted to.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean.
Well, here you got this dash at 157.
Yeah. Well, but the low bid, we'd have to go with the low bidder and then their alternate.
That's why I said, can you mix and match?
No.
Okay, because it's two different jobs.
Yeah.
That 295, I think, is still what they submitted to us, or 270.
Kreider's the road project.
When they said that, you guys are about to get hammered. Because if you guys were, I was going to be disappointed because they had that.
We were being